So, ladies and gentlemen.
Montgomery with some momentum to the end zone for the touchdown.
Goff, deep again, wide open, making the grab and taking it. It is St. Brown.
Come with Jameson Williams, the speedster, has a block. Williams cuts up. Jameson Williams scores!
You're looking at what was undeniably one of the best offenses in football in 2023. But not only are the Detroit Lions returning all of their key offensive pieces, their entire coaching staff, and hell, they're even going out and acquiring new pieces up to the time that I am recording this. But point is, this team in 2024, saying the sky is the limit, that might be the understatement of the year. Now sure, some of you might say that this team is essentially just running it back this season, but there are new variables that you need to consider with this team. There's say them adding further depth to what might have already been the best offensive line in football. Maybe what this defense, headlined by guys like Aiden Hutchinson, can bring to the table this year. But more than anything, the new implementations they're planning to make on the opposite side of the ball, some of you might not believe it until you actually see it. But before we get into that, today's video is brought to you by our friends at Manscaped, and even more specifically, the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. Now guys, y'all know who Manscaped is at this point, okay? They have revolutionized the landscape of men's grooming. And they have done it again with their Perfect Package 5.0 Ultra. And it's not just their 5th generation lawnmower with dual skin safe blade heads and interchangeable foil blades for enhanced performance, but there's also the upgraded trimmer blades, its dual temperature feature, their crop soother, crop preserver, and hell, just the fact that it's still waterproof, that is a blessing in itself. But if you guys head over to manscaped.com/footballdigest, which will be linked down below, you will receive 20% off and free international shipping with code footballdigest at checkout. So trust me, you guys, thank me later, check out the link down below, and get your hands on the one and only in Manscaped. Now, when dissecting the operation and the play style of the Detroit Lions last season, it doesn't really matter where you look, whether it be the run game, the pass game. Detroit checked the boxes pretty much everywhere in terms of overall production. Like putting up 30 plus in the NFC Championship game and it not being enough to punch your ticket to the Super Bowl, that should make that more clear than anything. But like any team, really, there were some weaknesses to go along with this. Let's shift our focus over to the pass game, specifically the wide receiver room, because Amon-Ra St. Brown, he did the heavy lifting in this lens last season. You could say top 5, top 3, maybe he's even top 2, and he ain't number 2 in this league. From pretty much any scope that you look at it, words almost cannot describe what he does for this pass game. His quick feet and burst ability to be able to constantly beat secondaries over the top like you see here, or even if you just jump 1 week later, simpler things like the feel he has for opposing defenses.
Oh, good adjustment. St. Brown's got a first down. That was a great catch.
I mean, he did it all for Detroit last year, leading the team in targets, receptions, yards, touchdowns, EPA, yak. I could keep going. Point is though, sometimes with being too reliant on Amon-Ra's production, you could clearly see how it hindered some of this team's capabilities. The two biggest reasons I say that are A, lack of wide receiver depth, and because of that, B, frontline pressure and blitz frequency. Now, it's no secret that outside of both Amon-Ra and Sam Laporta, this team wasn't the strongest in terms of their split out pieces. More times than not, you would see teams do everything they could to take these guys out of the equation and make Detroit beat them elsewhere. I mean, just take Amon-Ra's first to second half yard discrepancy in the NFC Championship game for an example of that. And ultimately, when defenses found even the slightest advantage to limit this air attack, to keep it as simple as possible, they just sent the house at Jared Goff. Because again, even with having a top-tier offensive line in all of football, Jared Goff had been both pressured and blitzed more than almost any other quarterback in the entire league. Now, this also isn't to say that Jared Goff wasn't effective when under pressure, because he was actually phenomenal in this regard.
Goff stops, loads, open Laporta! He's got it! And he's got his first NFL touchdown!
But on the other side of the equation, when he wasn't under pressure, he was arguably the best the NFL has to offer by that metric.
Wants it all. Jameson Williams looking for the ball. Got it!
So, what do you do to alleviate that pressure? Well, the free agency edition of this guy in Kevin Zeiter, it cannot be understated. I mean, you're talking about adding the second best pass blocking guard in football by grade last season to what was already easily a top 5 front line. There's also, of course, the further depth they've added up front from the draft in guys like Giovanni Manu, Christian Mahogany. And while I think it's pretty clear that both through the pass protection, but also even the run blocking, that Gibbs and Montgomery alongside Goff are going to be reaping major benefits from this, but also, I think the same needs to be addressed for who Jared Goff is going to be throwing the ball to. Now, when taking a deeper look into Detroit's wide receiver depth this season, what is ultimately going to decide how much this area improves, I mean, simply put,
Here comes Jameson Williams. Explodes to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit.
it's this guy right here. And really, from what was seen from him down the stretch of last season, there is no reason to think that he won't take that next step. Because while if you didn't know, in his time with Detroit up to this point, Jameson Williams has been pretty much strictly used as a deep threat more than anything else. I mean, just last year, he had the second highest deep target percentage in all of football. And with his generational speed, why wouldn't you? But we all saw this firsthand. As the season continued to progress, so did the ways in which Dan Campbell and company were using Jameson Williams. Obviously, there was the rare but extremely effective run designs that we began to see. He was also being used much more in short to intermediate route designs, where, of course, his big playability was even further on display. All in all, when you at least look at it from a numbers perspective, Jameson Williams in the latter half of 2023 had practically doubled all of his target share, all-purpose yards, and even just his percentage of total offensive snap counts. And that is honestly what makes this 2024 season so intriguing to me when looking at it from this perspective. Will the core four of Amon-Ra, J-Mo, Kalif Raymond, and Sam Laporta pose more of a threat this year? Will David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs expand on their already very impressive ground game from 2023? And hell, what about the defense? Will additions in guys like Carlton Davis, DJ Reader, and even the rookies provide the difference that they're looking for on that side of the ball? Well, guys, that is where I want to hear what you have to think of this. So please, let me know in the comments, what has surprised or intrigued you the most out of everything that Detroit has done leading up to the 2024 season? And of course, if you had to, give me a prediction for this team. What will their final record be, and how far do you see them making it in the playoffs? But once again, I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate y'all more than anything, and I will see you guys in the next video.